Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Lauren.
Welcome to Open Doors.
Welcome, everybody. Happy to be back. We are here on another beautiful day. Lauren's hair is still looking great. Um, I posted our one of our last episodes, just a teaser on Instagram, and I don't know if you saw it, but like one of my good friends who's really funny, he commented because at the end I was like, "And Lauren's hair looks great," because my hair looked like a mess, and he goes, "Lauren's hair really is fabulous."
I love it.
So let's just keep it going. If
Let's
you,
keep it going.
really just, I mean, just
Let's
never
keep it
having a
going.
bad hair day. Meanwhile, my hair is usually like all over the place, but
It
here we
looks
are.
great. It's so blonde. I love it.
Thanks. I
What's
know.
been going on? What's on your mind?
What's on my mind? Oh my gosh. There's a lot going on in my life. So,
Yeah.
what's on my mind is, my family is about to welcome a new baby. It is not my baby. But my
This is not a
ex-husband is
pregnancy
this is
announcement.
not a pregnant nope, not a gender reveal nor a pregnancy announcement. And if it was, someone should, come talk to me immediately. But no. My ex-husband is having a baby with his girlfriend, and my kids are very excited. We told them, and so they are very excited to have a new baby brother or sister. It's a
Mm,
surprise.
hmm
And the baby is coming. So we've got lots of change going on in terms of,
Yeah.
we had been nesting and now we're not going to nest anymore after 6 years. And so the kids will start going back and forth. And,
It's
that's
a
a
big
lot for
change.
Emma and like all the
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of, we've been talking a lot about change and this has, kind of been going on somewhat in the background, but like
Yeah.
it's very much in the foreground now. So here we are. And yeah, so I'm re-listening to our own podcast to remind
Just to
myself
remind yourself, like, yeah, yeah, good, good. Yeah.
and
I mean,
every other podcast
it's a
that I can
lot.
find, by the way.
Yeah. It's funny when these things happen. It's like, okay, like, well, it reminds you that like you really aren't in control, you know?
You're really not. And it
No.
is. And I think actually, as we go into today's topic, this will be the practice of some of the things we've already talked about, pivots, being open to change, like
Yeah.
understanding when and where to step into your own like power and the what you can control. Like I think some of
Sure.
this stuff is actually going to come through in the conversation we have today. But what's on your
Yeah.
mind, Miss Lauren?
Well, it's like changing seasons in New York. It's finally cold and dark at 5:30, and
Oh
I don't know, I
yeah.
kind of like it. It's like cozy season a little, and it feels
Yeah.
I was doing this meditation about the how you're kind of changing, how you change and the seasons change, and it's kind of a reminder that you change, and um that like winter is sort of at least in the on the East Coast where it's cold, it's kind of this season of um cozy and being home
Yeah.
and being warm and being kind of with your friends and dinner parties, and I don't know, it's
Yeah.
kind of sweet. I've learned over the years to come to appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fall. I'm excited.
Mhm.
Greg and I are going to a wedding this weekend in Michigan for one of his friends. And I
Nice.
mean, I got the coats out and the boots out and I got sweaters and I'm like ready to go. And we're going to, see
There you
his
go.
family. And like, I'm like,
I
let's drink
love it.
some tea and, hang
Yeah.
out by a fire. I'm here for it.
I love that. That's
So
great.
yeah, I love that. And it is a beautiful time in New York, actually, when it's kind of cold and chilly.
It is, especially around the holidays. It's just so cozy, and like it's about to be my husband works at Rock Center and they're doing the tree lighting in a couple
Oh, I
weeks.
love,
And
yeah.
it's just, it's like that 'tis the season of New York. It's like when we're at our best.
Yes, Merry and Bright, Merry and Bright. I love
Yes,
that. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Cool. Well, today we're going to talk about, we talk a lot about careers, you and I think we're going to
We
talk about
did.
careers in the future, what that's going to look like with I think there's a lot of fear. There's some conversations out there that are super fear based, and then there's some that are super hope based. And so I think what I
Mhm.
wanted to talk to you about is like, let's talk about it. Like, what are the scary parts? What are the great parts? Like, what are the types of skills that you need to have if you're, going what types of skills do we need to be teaching children going into this new world? And so I kind of wanted to
Mhm.
just like talk to you about, and this is a big meaty topic, but like, what is the future of work?
Oh, wow, it is a big, meaty topic, and I feel like it's changing by the day. Um, I think almost like uh, you wind it back a little bit, right? Like, it's not like we've never seen evolutional and revolutional change, and some, as a society, right? You had the industrial revolution, right? Like you have, now we're really in the AI revolution, right? And there's no denying it. I think the acceleration and the pace at which it's happening is definitely catching a lot of people off guard. And we are seeing, especially in the business world and the economics of, the global community, the number of people that are being laid off and, you know, all the things happening with like Amazon and Target and,
Yeah, and they're doing
UPS.
these robotic workforces, and it's like, okay, well, they don't pay into Social Security and you know our tax system. So what does that
Yeah.
mean for the for the rest of us?
For the rest of us. And, I think all of these are fair questions and they're going to kind of, things also do tend to find their own footing, right? Like
Hmm.
we are in a time of, I think real meaningful change, and I think because we are also surrounded by an industry of people, especially the marketing industry, which we are going to see be, affected in a, a fairly significant way and are seeing, um, I think that we have both an opportunity. There really is like an open door here, right? It's just about like you also we're closing a door on what we think we used to know, and we really kind of need to like let go of some of that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that's the challenge. I think sometimes is just like letting go to embrace the new, like to be ready to say I can unlearn that way of thinking and learn and try on a new way of thinking. So
W-
I think that's
Well,
going to be a critical skill.
we've heard everything from AI is going to end work to AI is going to create millions of jobs. Where do you land?
I think it's gonna create new types of jobs. I don't know that it's gonna create millions of jobs, right? Like, not in the way that we think about what millions of jobs means, right? I think that's the other
Right.
thing. Like, I think it's gonna spawn new industry. I think it's gonna spawn new capabilities. I think it's gonna
Yeah.
spawn new, new types of communities. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of new. I think when we think about jobs, we think about we're going to go bring all the jobs back to America, or we're going to, create a bunch of new jobs where, and I think just in the industrial mindset and in the world that we've always grown up in, the supply chain of like manufacturing and, marketing and the baton handoffs that we're accustomed to will not exist in the same way. The
Mm.
ultimate role for humans in many ways, I think, will become as collaborators to machines, to new learning devices, new technologies, new education systems, new healthcare systems, new, manufacturing systems, all the systems that we have used, I think, as core tenants maybe in society, we will become
Mhm.
collaborators to those systems, but they will also spawn new needs for new things, new ways of doing
Mhm.
things. What does a personalized education plan look like for a person, for a child, if there's not another human there to make sure that it really makes sense?
Mhm.
Right? Like, so I think it's going to look something, and who knows, but this is the way that I sort of start to think about it. How are
Yeah.
you thinking about it? Because obviously, this has
Have you
also
ever
been on
seen
your mind.
Wally?
Oh, I love Wally. I mean, Wally, Eva, the whole thing
I
every
just
time.
I'm nervous that we're going to like end up destroying our planet to create tech all of this technology, and we're never not going to have to work anymore. And so we're just like I could see a world where like, okay, we don't have to work anymore. Everyone gets some sort of basic income from the government, and to keep us all happy, like Aldous Huxley Brave New World, like they give us like the pill or the smoothie or whatever every day. I don't know, like it
And we drink and
maybe
ride
that's
around on a conveyor belt.
and we just ride around on a conveyor belt, like I don't know. It's I guess there's parts of it that can seem daunting.
I yeah, I mean, it's right. I have 3 children, so I laugh because in some way, or even like this new baby that's coming, right? 16 years younger than my oldest children, right? And we
Right.
are talking about writing, at the same time as that conversation's going on, we're also talking about Quinn, going on college trips, right? And then in the middle, you have Mia, who's 12, and somewhere in there, right, like, is the education systems are trying to figure out how to integrate AI in a way that will allow everyone to continue to learn and yet
Yep.
also acknowledge the fact that this exists and it is being used, right? So
Yeah.
I think what happens in Wally's a great example, right? I mean, and I've watched this movie like literally like 100 times because I do love it so much. Um, I don't think that your fear is unfounded in terms of maybe a certain piece of the population will become complacent and that will happen. But I think as we look to continue to raise ourselves and to raise our humans, right? Critical thinking and adaptability and resilience will be like the 3 things that if in my mind, if I
Hmm.
can keep those things alive and well within my children and within myself, right? That will start to make sure that, you know, as a society, we will continue to evolve, right? Like there will
Yeah.
be robots. And you know what? I'd be
Yeah.
super happy if a robot wanted to do my laundry, honestly.
I was just laughing so hard as you joined earlier because I was watching this robot cooking and it was so bad and it was like throwing the food all over the floor and then it was like getting stuck stepping on the food and sliding all over. I was crying laughing. Cuz I don't
Yeah.
think we're quite there yet, but
No, I don't think so we're there yet either. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I mean, I think these are, and this is, I am not saying this, like just, oh, Shannon Pruitt is saying this, this is higher education systems,
yeah.
well-known technologists, right? Like there's a lot of developers that are saying this, like how humans are going to become collaborators. AI is not meant to displace, it is going to accelerate and change the dynamic of how we interoperate together and with the automated
Yeah.
workforce,
I
but it's not
do
going to
get
displace us.
concerned about the Amazon sort of earnings that just came out and and they are doing so much with robots and they are eliminating so much of their workforce, growing while eliminating humans. And I was
Mhm.
listening to Scott Galloway talk about it and he had a really interesting POV. He was like
What do you say?
all those companies should have to because they get to recognize that cost savings, but as a
Mhm.
society, we're worse off because now we've lost, people paying into Social Security, people paying
Yeah,
into healthcare, et cetera. And he was saying it used to be 12-1 workers to retirees, and now it's more like 3-1. And that could be even worse as we get more technologically advanced. And so I do think it will be interesting to see like the government at some point, governments across the world are going to have to step in and be like, okay, well, you can eliminate the workforce, but you still have to like you don't get to recognize that
subsidize the
all of that
economy.
as a private. Yeah, exactly. We have
Yeah.
to subsidize
Yeah.
the economy. Right.
I think
I
there seemingly is going to be a pretty significant calibration, I think, coming, right? Like
Yeah.
the gap is, pretty wide. I was listening yesterday to Morning Brew and as I do, as everyone now
Yeah.
knows, I like the Morning Brew and Mel Robbins podcast on this podcast all the time because those are like clearly. I also do like Pivot. I like Scott Galloway's point of view and Kara Swisher, and they're interesting. But like, um, and I actually, I think this was Morning Brew, and then it was followed actually by All In, which was, also an interesting podcast. And it was really talking about how like car repossessions are higher than they have been since 2009.
Hmm.
And that is an economic indicator that we are in a bad time, right? The numbers
Hmm.
may not indicate it, but the wealthy, and I think we did talk about this, like,
Mm.
um, you know, earlier in this season of Open Doors, but the wealthy are the 1%. Or, and by the way, the 1%. is also the correlation being with, are largely invested. And I think Scott Galloway also talked about this in like the magnificent 10 or whatever he calls them, right? The top 10 companies in the world, which include Amazon, Apple,
Mhm.
Google,
Now
Alphabet, whatever.
NVIDIA. Yeah.
Now Nvidia, like all of these companies, right? And the race to compute and like all of these kind of economic indicators. So being fueled by the people that got in on those investments, being amplified now by the fact that these companies are being like balloon and mushrooming in, the evaluations of these companies, $4 billion, $4 trillion, $5 trillion, like numbers like we've never seen and can't even comprehend. And yet also the highest number of car repossessions, you know, since 2009, which followed the crash of 2008, right? So these are like, and then, the mayoral election yesterday in New York City, and, like there's a lot happening in our society and in and around us that was going to it is going to it's going to have to recalibrate, right? Because you
Mhm.
are going to have, the SNAP program that was being, you know, 40 million, I think it was 40 million Americans, maybe more,
Yeah. Yeah.
risk for not getting distribution for food, because
Yeah.
the government was shut down. Like, and
Yeah.
no, and not a willingness to release the emergency funds because it didn't qualify as an emergency. That's an
Well, also
emergency.
also the fact that we live in the richest country in the world and that 40 million of our people are starving and needs food assistance. Like,
A
you,
1000%.
it's like, yeah, I think you're right. There's this massive disparity between income brackets that has only accelerated over time. And unless, I mean, AI is only going to like push it further and like keep pushing. Like, as you said, like with the elections yesterday across the country, it's like people are seeing like that the government is going to have to step in here, I think, because they're getting pushed to a breaking point.
I mean, I think I mean, it's like a bunch of dots connecting, right? Like federal and state and local governments had to step in for SNAP, right? Vowing that they would fund the deficit that was not being approved by our federal government, which is meant to take care of its citizens. I mean, I grew up on food stamps. I remember standing at
Wow.
the register with my mom, handing
Mhm.
over physical food stamps, right? Like
Mhm.
it is a very big deal. And for anybody and any of those people who never went hungry or didn't, couldn't have more because there wasn't more to give, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
those people need to be taken care of. And, I listen to people all the time on these podcasts that are exceptionally wealthy, right? AI is catalyzing that wealth in a very
Mhm.
significant way, very
Mhm.
rapidly.
Yep.
And you're then have all of these people that can't eat and they're, no wonder, the truth is like people are like, yeah, 4% of your billions of dollars, you're complaining about that and you're moving out of the state. Like, I'm not a radical anything, but I am, I take people
It's
who are
common
suffering
sense.
very,
Yeah.
very seriously, right?
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is, that's what's hard to sort of reconcile in all of this, which is the future of work is right now is making the rich richer and the people that are in the middle and or in middle of anything. If you're in the middle layer of a job, you know actually senior level employees, people with a long time expertise, are valued because they have the critical thinking and they have the ability to troubleshoot and they can create, they create executive decision making. And the middle layer actually was the one that got screwed a little bit during COVID, right? And
Yeah.
also it was kind of the millennial generation that wanted to be
Yeah.
promoted faster and didn't get the training because we were worried about retention. So we didn't train them, right?
Yeah.
And so now they're the ones that are even kind of at risk. And then
Yeah.
you've got the, sort of lower level who are the grinders and they're doing the work. So you kind of keep them around. And then you've got kind of the administrative level, which will mostly go away. Right.
Yeah.
So it is sort of this tiered system that, again, like the more, the senior level people that have all the relationships that can make the money will, continue to have opportunity. You're going to have this middle layer that's going to suffer. And then you're going to have this other layer that's like grinding, 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 and kind of just going to be able to make it work. And then you have the people that are the administrative level who are going to be probably let go. And it's kind of the structure of America.
Mhm. Yeah. But I mean, that's millions of people. Like, what the hell are they gonna do?
Millions of people. What are they going to do? How are they going to eat? They're not going to have cars to get to work. They're not going to be, like the the jobs, the like labor industrial jobs that they need to get to won't have the ability to get to them,
Right.
right? Like it's just it is sort of mind bending to think
Mhm.
about all the things that are happening right literally right now.
Yeah.
And where's the
Yeah.
intervention? Like where is the kind of people with actual business sense looking at this and going, this is not a political conversation. This is what are the economics of this country? How can we help and support getting a plan into place that is not just about cutting the fat or doing this or whatever? It's like, how do you talk about protecting our people and getting some institutional infrastructure that actually isn't radicalized or distributed on social media as like a call to action? Like, how do we actually make something stick and work and not put us in jeopardy every time the government's going to shut down or, whatever else?
And what skills do people need to learn or unlearn? I think that's the other thing that people are confused about. Like, if the skills of the Rust Belt employee or the administrator that, you know, does manual work that is gonna be replaced by AI, like, what are the skills that people are gonna need to learn?
Well, so it's funny because Satya Nadella, who's CEO of
Yeah.
Microsoft, right?
Mhm.
Now, one of the most valuable companies in the world, right? He had a quote, which is exactly what you're saying, which is the most important skill will be the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's the whole thing is like we almost don't even I don't even think we know exactly what any of that means, right? Like what is, you got Mark Zuckerberg who's talking about revolution of education and more personalization, so everyone's like looking at sort of these positive things, but it's really and productivity and all that stuff. But I think it all comes down to like Albert Einstein. Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think.
Yeah.
And I think collectively we really need to think, right?
Yeah.
Like we need to think
Yeah.
together. We're very focused on profits. We're very focused on the drive for innovation and acceleration. And we're very focused on, you know, the political representation of that. And we're very focused on, earnings calls are now like these crazy events, based across the industry of everyone looking. And we we are kind of in the race of this forgetting the humanity,
Yeah.
which is the most important piece. And
It's
that's
the
the
most
part where you're
important
just like,
piece. Yeah.
it's the most important piece, right? And people, the conversation is being dominated not about humanity
Yeah. Yeah.
by the greatest thinkers, right? The people that are supposed to be thinking, right? The people with the power of thinking and impact and means, right? They're not thinking per se about the people, they're thinking about the profit. And somewhere in there, we need to reconcile and align the
Yeah.
people and the purpose and the
Or
profit.
we're gonna have a revolution because the people are not gonna take it, you know? It's like but I mean, I don't know if they're not thinking about it. It was interesting. I was at advertising week a couple of weeks ago in New York, and
Yeah.
people I were very hesitant to ever talk about replacing workers or making them more efficient or anything like that. Every conversation that I saw on a panel was like, "Well, we're not talking about replacing workers. We're not talking about replacing. We're talking about working with workers." And it's like, are we all just not saying the thing out loud that we really think, which is like, workers are going to be replaced, and we're going to have to figure out what to do about that. Like,
They already are, just companies aren't
yeah,
talking about it, right? Like people are
exactly.
going away. Like I left my company and basically I think most people have zero idea that I'm not even there anymore, right? Like, or, you know, or, I know several other people, right? But there's people all the time that sort of disappear into the black hole of companies. I think that's happening more at scale and
Yeah.
probably not being talked about. And there are mandates by which is also dangerous, right? Like the mandates of CEOs to be using AI across the organization, but it's creating what they call like, AI slop or whatever work slop, right? Where you use AI to do a project and then you like send it off to the team and then you get it and you're like, what is this? Like this was done by like chat GPT. What is happening? Right. So it's also creating less efficiency. So as it's interesting as companies, I think are trying to lean in and they are getting rid of people and nobody wants to say that because they don't want to create fear, but it is happening and it's going to continue happening. And
Yeah.
I think that's the part where I think it is difficult to sort of we work in a relation, or we have worked in a industry that was deeply personal, right? A lot of relationships, everybody kind of knows one another to some degree, right? There's been a ton of consolidation. There's a lot of people that don't have jobs and have lost their jobs and are trying to figure out what their next move is and looking to the same industry that has fewer jobs,
Even fewer jobs. Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
100%.
And I
Yeah.
think that is really hard and that is really scary. And that is really, you know, companies are, probably not like, oh yeah, please get on a stage at Adweek and talk about, everybody's been media trained as they should be. Everyone should be media trained. I agree.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, but, I think that's, you're supposed to have a thoughtful point of view. It's like, did you hear about the guy from Snowflake, the CRO from Snowflake? The CRO from Snowflake got an influencer, a creator who has like a podcast, like a famous, like whatever.
Sure.
I think he's fairly well known. Um, and I can't remember what it's called, but he got a hold of the CRO of Snowflake and a man on the street, and the CRO of Snowflake talked about, he's CRO. So his job is to be like, hey, here's how we're going to do this year. And like, we're going to, crush targets. And, that's his job. And so he did that. And then the company had to scramble because he wasn't an authorized spokesperson for the company. And so they came back and they're like, no, we're still aligned to our forecast, which is about 100 million less than what was said in the market. And like, so like, it's a, it's that kind of thing. Like you can't talk, those are not the kinds of things you really can be talking about, right? Whether it's the numbers or forecasts for the company or, what you're planning to do with your staffing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. 100%. Is
So
there
yeah,
anything that makes you feel optimistic about the future of work?
I'm I'm personally very excited about it, right? I've co-founded a company that is very much using AI, right, in terms of the future of the work. I used VO yesterday to create some like amazing videos out of images I generated from AI for an event in the future, right? So this idea of I was talking to my daughter, 12, Mia, on the way to school. And I was talking to her. I'm like, Mia, you can be my social media person for the company, And she's like, oh, mom, that'd be fun. Everyone tells me I like take good photos. I'm like, yeah, you're great at taking photos. So, what we should do is we should take a course together on like how to create social media now in this new era of or to create content in the new era of AI. And we should do that course together. And it'll take us probably a few hours or maybe a couple of days over a weekend. And she's like, oh, that would be so fun. So I think this idea of like communal learning, because we're all going to be in this together, right?
Mhm.
Is really fun and interesting. And I feel like very optimistic. And, I'm on Alpha, which is, about, four boards by board directors, right? But it's about governance and using AI in the context of, C-suite and boardrooms. And like, I think there's a huge education component to that. But I think I'm eternally sort of an optimist anyway. So I feel like this idea of like self-initiated learning, communal learning, opportunities to create, like everyone can be a creator. and a collaborator, right? Like literally every single person that listens to this podcast could have an idea in your brain and be like, I've always wanted to do this thing. And you can go to a site like Lovable or something else, Claude, whatever you want to go to, and you could vibe code your idea into existence. Like
Yeah.
that is really cool and a
Yeah.
really huge opportunity for people, especially people like we know and friends that, you know, have been displaced or do not have jobs that have always wanted to do something and need a place to put their energy and they're in a pivot and they need to follow the good energy and refine what gives them joy. Like these there are opportunities here for I think even in around the areas of like mental health and like how do you propel yourself into the next phase and space of your life because while AI might be doing your more productive job, now you've always wanted to write a book or you've always wanted
Yeah.
to paint a painting or you had an idea for a children's storybook or whatever it is, you can
Yeah,
make
I
that
hope
now.
so. I hope there's more room and space for creativity. I think that would be the ultimate win for society is like if we could like in a world where we only had to work 25 hours a week, what could we do with that additional time and like what kind of things could we pursue? And I think that's what gives me optimism.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling you can find we can all find the silver lining, which is good.
Yeah,
And
I mean the universe is abundant and
it is abundant. It is
it's
abundant.
this will be there will be abundance here. It's just gonna there may be some tensions that we'll need to work through as a society.
I think so. But
Yeah.
but it's fun to talk about this stuff too. Like I think there's a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
love it. So fun.
sorry for the call out snowflake. But
Well, tell me what your open door is.
my open door is embracing the next chapter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm just, you know, walk through, just keep going, right? Tap into the good energy of what's happening
It's
around me and find
it's
the
funny
good in
because
every
like
single day.
if Shannon 12 months ago could like talk to Shannon now, like I feel like you'd be like, "Oh, just buckle up because there's going to be a lot of change coming."
Shannon told, yeah, I mean, in the lot, like I'm basically doing every single thing that they tell you you shouldn't do at the same time, right? Like I'm
Pretty
starting a
much.
company, we're getting a new baby.
We're getting a new
we're
baby.
getting,
You
we
moved to,
just,
you
we,
moved to a different part of town.
I moved
You
to a different part of
you
town.
left your job.
I left my job. We just lost 12 goldfish. No, we did do that, but that's not one of the things. But like, it's just all my mom was in the hospital over the weekend. Like there's so many things happening at the same time that it's like almost like, well, yeah, just buckle
Life.
up, hold on. This is life. And you know what?
Here's
I'm still
life.
surrounded by great people. I still have a lot of love to give. I'm still super lucky and
Yeah.
thankful for all the things that I do have and all the many
Yeah.
blessings. And
I
a little
love it.
something. I'm almost like back in the OG of my new favorite day where I'm like, there is something good in every single day that I am grateful for. And I'm going to hold on to that and be very grateful for that.
Yes. I love that.
So
Yeah.
here we are, my new favorite day. It's my new favorite day today.
Yeah. Great. I love it. I think that's great. I
Yeah.
think this, for me, it's to say it's a very
Yeah.
similar. It's this idea of abundance and things are rigged in your favor and you're going to be okay. And I have this tendency to be like I can be driven by fear a lot of times and I think like I'm really trying to shift my perspective and look at things as if like more from a position of like abundance. And
Yeah.
so I think my open door is walking through that. It's like the universe has your back. Life is abundant. It's rigged in your
Yes.
favor and you don't have to control everything.
And we cannot.
And you can't.
And we cannot.
So good luck
We
trying.
cannot. So good luck trying. And, I think I feel hopefully today, after a little bit of our conversation, you're feeling a little more like optimistic, less fearful, not
Listen,
Wally.
people are either going to go start a revolution or start a company. So that's the one promise I can make.
Well, we're doing the latter. So here we are.
I love it.
But I love it. So,
Well,
well, always great to see you. Thanks to everyone
you
for
too. Thanks
listening.
everybody for listening. We'll catch you next week.
We'll catch you next week. Find us on all the socials.
Bye.